Hello everyone, you're watching Let's Talk About Prepping. I'm Tyler, your host, and in this video we're going to continue our reading of Lucifer's Hammer by Larry Niven and Jerry Parnell. I know it's been a minute, but if you care to, I'll post the links in the description down below. You can catch up, and we'll continue with page 75, March 2 of Lucifer's Hammer. Most astronomers envisage comets as forming a vast cloud surrounding the solar system and stretching perhaps halfway to the nearest star. The Dutch astronomer J. H. Oort, after whom the cloud is usually named, has estimated that the cloud contains perhaps 100 billion comets. Brian Marsden, Smithsonian Institute. They loaded them up well in the green room. Two ushers and an astonishingly pretty hostess poured their glasses full as soon as they were half empty, so that Tim Hamner had drunk more than he liked. At that, he thought, I'm well off compared to Arnold. Arnold was a best-selling author, and Arnold never talked about anything that wasn't in his books. When Tim told him Hamner Brown was now visible to the naked eye, Arnold didn't know what Tim was talking about. When Tim told him, Arnold wanted to meet Brown. One of the ushers signaled, and Tim got unsteadily to his feet. The stairs hadn't seemed so steep when he came down them. He arrived on stage to hear the last of Johnny's smoothly professional monologue and to bask in the audience applause. Johnny was in full form, joking with the other guests. Tim remembered from the monitor downstairs that Sharps of JPL had been giving a lecture on comets, and that Johnny seemed to know a great deal about astronomy. The other guest, a dowager whose breast equipment had, 20 years ago, given a new word to the English language, kept interrupting with off-colored jokes. The dowager was quite drunk. Tim remembered that her name was Mary Jane, and that no one ever called her by her stage name anymore. At her age and weight, it would have been ridiculous. The opening chatter got Tim through a terrible moment of stage fright. Then Johnny turned to him and asked, How do you discover a comet? I wish I'd done that. He seemed quite serious. You wouldn't have time, Tim said. It takes years, decades sometimes, and no guarantees ever. You pick a telescope, and you memorize the sky through it, and then you spend every night looking at nothing and freezing your can off. It gets cold in that mountain observatory. Mary Jane said something. Johnny was alarmed but didn't show it. The sound man with his earphones gave Johnny a high sign. Do you like owning a comet? Johnny asked. Half a comet, Tim said automatically. I love it. He won't own it long, Dr. Sharp said. Eh? How's that? Tim demanded. It'll be the Russians who own it, Sharp said. They're sending up a Soyuz to have a close look from space. When they get through, it'll be their comet. That was appalling. Tim asked, But can't we do anything? Sure, we can put up an Apollo or something bigger. We've got the equipment sitting around getting rusty. We even did the preliminary work. But the money has run out. But you could put up something, Johnny asked. If you had the money? We could be up there watching Earth go through the tail. It's a shame the American people don't care more about technology. Nobody cares a hang as long as their electric carving knives work. You ever stop to think just how dependent we are on things that none of us understand? Sharps gestured dramatically around the TV studio. Johnny started to say something about the housewife who ran a home computer as a hobby, and changed his mind. The studio audience was listening. There was a careful silence that Johnny had long since learned to respect. They wanted to hear Sharps. Maybe this would be one of the good nights, one of the shows that ran over and over. Sundays, anniversaries. Not just the TV, Sharps was saying. Your desk. Formica top. What is formica? Anyone know how it's made or how to make a pencil, much less penicillin? Our lives depend on these things, and none of us knows much about them, not even me. I always wondered what makes bra straps snappy, Mary Jane said. Johnny jumped in to give the show back to Sharps. But tell me, Charlie, what good will it do to study that comet? How will that change our lives? Sharps shrugged. It may not. You're asking what good new research does. All I can answer is that it always has paid off. Not the way you thought it would, maybe. Who'd have thought we'd get a whole new medical technology out of the space program? But we did. Thousands are alive right now because the human factors boys had to develop new instruments for the astronauts. Johnny, did you ever hear of the Club of Rome? Johnny had, but the audience would need reminding. They were the people who did computer simulations to find out how long we could get along on our natural resources. Even with zero population growth, they tell us we're finished, Sharps broke in, and that's stupid. We're only finished because they won't really let us use technology. They say we're running out of metals. There's more metal in one little asteroid than was mined all over the world in the last 5 years. And there are hundreds of thousands of asteroids. All we have to do is go get them. Can we? You bet. Even with the technology we already have, we could do it. Johnny, out there in space, it's raining soup. And we don't even know about soup bowls. The studio audience applauded. They hadn't been cued by the production assistants, but they applauded. Johnny gave Sharps an approving smile and decided how the program would go for the rest of the night. But first, there was a frantic signal. Time for a Calva's soap commercial. There was more after the commercial. When Sharps got going, he was really dynamic. His thin, bony hands waved around like windmills. He talked about windmills too, and about how much power the sun put out every day. About the solar flares Skylab's crew had observed. Johnny, there was enough power in that one little flare to run our whole civilization for hundreds of years. And those idiots talk about doom. But they were neglecting Tim Hamner, and Johnny had to bring him back into the conversation. Hamner was sitting there nodding, obviously enjoying Sharps. Johnny carefully maneuvered the scientist back onto the comet, then saw his chance. Charlie, you said the Russians would get a close look at Hamner Brown. How close? Pretty close. We'll definitely pass through the tail of the comet. I showed you why we can't tell how close the head will come, but it's going to be very close. If we're lucky, maybe as close as the moon. I wouldn't call that luck, Mary Jane said. Tim, it's your comet, Johnny said. Could Hammer Brown actually hit us? That's Hamner Brown, Tim said. Oh, Johnny laughed. What did I say? Hammer? It would be a hammer if it hit, wouldn't it? You know it, Charlie Sharp said. Just what would it do? Johnny asked. Well, we've got some pretty big holes left from meteor strikes, Tim said. Meteor crater in Arizona is nearly a mile wide. Vreedvoort in South Africa is so big you can't see it except from the air. And those were the little ones, Sharps said. They all turned to look at him. Sharps grinned. Ever notice how circular Hudson's Bay looks? Or the Sea of Japan? Were those meteors? Johnny asked. The thought was horrifying. A lot of us think so, and something pretty big cracked the moon wide open. A quarter of its surface is covered by that so-called ocean, which was once a sea of lava welling up from where a big asteroid hit. Of course, we don't know what Hamner Brown is made of, Tim said. Maybe it's time we found these things out, Mary Jane said, before one of them does hit us, like this one. It's only a matter of time, Sharp said. Give it long enough, and the probability of a comet hitting us approaches certainty. But I don't think we have to worry about Hamner Brown. Alright, well, thanks for listening, everybody. Hope you enjoyed. We'll carry on soon. Hope you're all doing well out there, and everybody stay safe.